What is going on, everyone? My name's Boit, and I'm back with a little bit of Age of Mythology Retold. Age of Mythology Retold has the potential to be either an amazing success or an absolute failure. I, for one, am super stoked after the announcement and have been reinvigorated to make so much more content for all you guys. A developer just posted on the Age of Empires forums the other day asking for feature requests for Retold, and I thought it'd be better to explain in video form what is great about the game already and what is in dire need of modernizing. So let us start with the good. Let's face it, Ensemble Studios, while being a fantastic game development company, really struggled to completely realize their vision of random maps and also balanced maps. When I read the box about random maps, I thought, wow, every game's going to be completely different. And to some degree, that was correct. However, when I read the box about random maps, I thought, wow, every game is going to be completely different. And to some degree, that was correct. However, as time went on and people got better at the game, it became apparent that games were designed from the outset simply due to a bad spawn, hunt not being close to your town center, or maybe even a town center being a range of water. Luckily, through the years and through a dedicated map designer and balancer in Rebels Rising, we can seriously say that the maps we currently play on for competitive Age of Mythology are not only both balanced and random, but also arguably the most balanced and random maps out of all of the Age of Empires series. And not only that, we've recently had the design of competitive Mega Random and a tournament on this map, which completely changed the landscape of competitive possibilities. So if you want to make good maps for the launch of Age of Mythology, I do request get in contact with Rebels Rising and ask him how he did it. It'll be well worth it. And he's an amazing person. I'm sure he'd be keen to have a chat. Moving on, balance is in a pretty good place right now for Voobly. You don't have to reinvent the wheel to balance the game. If Chinese are not included on the release, I'll humbly request that you look towards a Voobly balance patch to get some ideas, and even contact Ipit, who I'm pretty sure works for Age of Empires 3 bug fixing, to bring life to this in a bit of a safe way. He was really heavily involved in the coding and has a really deep understanding of Age of Mythology. The guy is literally a godsend. Get in touch with him if you haven't already. So this is the good. This is what I love about Age of Mythology and what we've managed to change since the launch. So what's the bad? Well, I want to start with something that's maybe not talked about too much because it doesn't really matter for the competitive community. But for learners of the game, they can get really discouraged. The AI is either too strong or too weak. The jump from the medium AI to the hard AI is probably around a 100 MMR rating difference, which is unarguably a big jump. Beyond this, the Titan AI is probably more like a 200 MMR difference from hard to Titan, which is huge. That being said, it's still not good. The Titan AI is probably about 1600 level on Voobly, which is the starting point. That's what the rating you get when you start on Voobly. It would be really cool to see some efforts into maybe making 5 or 6 different difficulty levels and creating something that goes up to at least a 1700 level without cheating, so that people can get a feel for what real gameplay feels like without the pressure of playing online. Multiplayer is in a dire need for quick match functionality. Obviously, this is something that is going to be included, but I humbly request that we also get team game matchmaking, where you can team up with your friends, search for a game, go solo, find some randoms to play with. Team games are by far the most popular way to play for the casual gamer, and even for a good portion of the competitive players, that holds true as well. It really seems very important to me to get that included. To continue on, we can talk a little bit about the user interface. Obviously, every single definitive edition has been made and the UI has been modernized. So we're going to see that same modernization coming into Age of Mythology. And just to be clear, I think that a sleek, minimalist UI that brings some flair with it of the original Age of Mythology would be a really good way to go about it. And Again, Ippa was a guy who made this UI. He made the minimalist UI for Age of Mythology. He's going to make something great if you get in contact with him to kind of hash out some ideas. Beyond all of this, an esports level observer UI would go a really long way to help AOM retain a player base and arguably increase its player base. Not only would every player be able to jump in and watch a game of pros and feel like it's on Twitch, but also for tournament hosts, it's only going to bring more attention to their streams and thus AOM as well. To further this, observing games in a similar fashion to how AoE 4 works would be really, really amazing. I want to be able to scroll my friends list, see the mister in a game, and then be able to click observe. That would be the absolute dream. However, to add to this, I still would like to be able to download and share recorded games. It feels like AoE 4 kind of missed this. Maybe that's something that's going to be planned for the future. All right, now for the big one. Moving on to gameplay. Attack move. Clearly, this feature doesn't work well on AOM, and it's not, well, I mean, it does work, but it doesn't work well. It kind of is very clunky and not modern at all. I believe something like 2 game seconds goes by, and then the game will check if something can be attacked, and then it'll attack. Just make it like AoE 4 does, and we're good. A hot button issue to talk about is auto queue. In recent years, I've come around to it, and see the utility of it, but for learning to play an RTS and allowing players to really focus on the strategy of RTS, it's really, really good. However, it is not a competitive tool, and for this reason, probably shouldn't be included in rank play. That being said, I want to see it in custom games. I think it's a beautiful way to lower the, to raise the skill floor starting and allow lower level players to compete and feel like they can kind of execute the strategies that the pros are doing, even though they maybe wouldn't be able to do it without auto queue. Now, to go into a little bit more detail as to why maybe we should take this out of competitive play, essentially, if you are unaware of how auto queue works and you come into the game, say you're like a decent RTS player, you'll jump into a game, you'll play against a low level player who's pretty well versed with auto queue, and they'll out macro you. Even if you're the Viper and you come in and you play a relatively low level player, they're going to out macro you, and you're going to be like, well, this is ridiculous. You're not going to put the effort into learning how to play with auto queue because it doesn't relate to any other games, and you're just going to leave. So, I mean, there's 2 sides to the coin, and this is just my opinion. It's going to be something that's a really risky request to implement, and I think that you should really consider from all angles, and in the end, you will make a decision that is good, but this is definitely something to keep in mind. Beyond all of the clunkiness of all the things, in Age of Mythology, you can only select 30 units. It's a bit clunky. Let us select more than 30 units. No brainer. Onwards and upwards. Hotkeys for technology is something that every Definitive Edition game has received, so I'm going to assume it's going to be in there, but I'll ask anyways. XD. Maybe something that is a little bit different that might not be considered would be maybe a toggle myth unit special ability. This is something that I thought would be a good way about making a change which wouldn't impact the way that players play the game now. But if they want to get a little bit more juice out of their myth units, they could utilize this feature and find that advantage in some different situations. Beyond all of this, the kind of little nitty-gritty competitive things that get under my gears are the really toxic things which most players don't do, but because we've kind of disallowed them from tournaments, but are definitely still in the game, and a kind of player who is on the matchmaking board, who doesn't care too much about their image, might simply go out and just do these things. And they're like hunt delete, Gaia Forest on gold, mass wall segments, all this kind of stuff is really, really bad, and it would be nice to just not have to deal with it from the outset. So for now, this is my list. There's probably much more I'd like to be added, but we've got time to keep on adding in suggestions over the next couple of months, and as I think of things or as you guys suggest things, you can always leave a comment and on the Age of Empires forum and or on this video. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more Retold discussion, please let me know. Hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next one.